Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time for Jonathan. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos or topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, which really does not have any connection with the first Bad Lieutenant or Harvey Keitel. In fact, it kind of seems almost random for the title to be brought up because the director, Werner Herzog, he had never seen Bad Lieutenant. It has no connections to it, I guess, other than Nicolas Cage plays a cop that gets promoted to lieutenant. And he's not the nicest guy, so in a way a bad person for a bit, hence Bad Lieutenant. I would say this film, I've seen it before, is worth a watch just for Nicolas Cage's performance alone. And you have some weird quirks brought about by Werner Herzog's direction. There's some pretty decent supporting actors. Brad Dourif, for example, who I'm always a big fan of. He's in the film. Fairuza Balk from The Craft. Eva Mendes, who I like. She was in Ghost Rider, Too Fast, Too Furious. Val Kilmer. I actually wish there was more Val Kilmer because I liked him working with Nicolas Cage. But Val, to me, he's not in the film as much as he should have been. There's like points in the film he disappears. Because pretty much this takes place after Katrina in New Orleans. And the very beginning, this jail has been flooded, and the two of them, Nicolas Cage and Val Kilmer, they realize that a prisoner has been shifted off like he should. He's stuck in there. And right off the bat, you get Cage's personality in the film. Please what, shit turd? What, you want me to get wet on account of you? Ultimately, he does and helps the prisoner, but by doing so, he hurts his back. He gets on painkillers, he becomes addicted to painkillers, and then that leads to cocaine, marijuana, other drugs. He gets promoted to lieutenant, and now he's on the case of a couple illegal immigrants have been murdered. And the movie at times feels like it's not as focused as it could have been. Because sometimes it's like, okay, he's on the case, but then that kind of shifts to just him and his daily occurrence of finding random people, accosting them, into your pocket so he can steal their drugs, going to his girlfriend who's a prostitute played by Eva Mendes and they do drugs together, or his parents, one's an alcoholic, one is going to meetings to try to stay sober. And it's going on all these different little tangents. There's a tangent with his bookie, played by Brad Dourif, who comes to a point where he owes like $5,000 to Brad Dourif's character. Or Eva Mendes finds out that she's been hit, so he accosts this guy, and you find out he's got connections. Or there goes back to try to find what happened to these illegal immigrants, and it might be linked to this gangster played by Exhibit from Pimp Your Ride. Fairuza Balk is a state trooper that at one point maybe could get some material from her, maybe have a little bit of horizontal fandango with. It's really a movie to just witness Nicolas Cage become more and more unhinged throughout. Because when I think of a film that does that, but it's a bit more focused, I would think Bringing Out the Dead. Martin Scorsese's film with Nicolas Cage, John Goodman, Tom Sizemore. That's a movie that may seem random, but it's a guy as an ambulance driver, and you see kind of his job after job. The job just, it felt that was a bit more focused in this path of, if not self-destruction, but just almost disillusioned with what's going on, and you're hoping that he gets out of this hole that he's in. But it does have fun Nicolas Cage moments. there's a bit that he's trying to find this witness, and the guy's grandma works at this nursing home, and she's helping this old lady, and Nicolas Cage is yelling at the two ladies, go, "Where the fuck is he?" And he pulls a gun out. At first, he like takes this old woman's like air tank hose from her nose, like the air tank. Tries to get info. And then he pulls out a gun. And is like, "You selfish fucks! You drained your sons or your grandsons' inheritance. You selfish fucks! I should kill you both right now." Because he's fucking crazy. And also, there's times where Nick Cage is like changing his voice. I guess the more high the character is, he starts having this more like nasally voice. But I don't know if he's like trying to sound like, "How's it going? See?" Like an old gangster from the 1930s or something. Or I was almost going to say like Jimmy Cadney, but I don't know if that's really what I'm thinking of. But how's it going? See? Like, just there are times that it seems a bit more laughable, like that when he's changing his voice a bit, or there's a bit where, and if you're wondering, there's people working out there. There's a bit where one of the people he accosts, a couple, she's like, "Hey, what do you want for this? Don't arrest us. What do you want?" And then she starts undoing his pants, and then you don't see anything, but you get the idea it's gonna be a hand job. And Nicolas Cage is like, "Hey, you get back to you watch your fucking girlfriend. You watch your fucking girlfriend do this." So you can't really say he's a likable character, but it is interesting enough of a movie to see Nick Cage uncaged, at times go full tilt, and at times give a pretty good performance with moments of too over the topness. Like I said, as I see people like Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's good. That's why I wish he was in the film more. I think there's a lot more the two of them could have played off each other. Because like I said, there are times like they're together at the very beginning of the film, then once in a while they're together. But like I say, it seems like he'd be much more of an important character. He's Nicolas Cage's police partner. But like I said, to me there's too many points that he disappears. And so it gets to a point where again he's trying to find who killed these immigrants. He owes money to his bookie. These other guys connected, they are fucking with him because he protected his girlfriend, the prostitute. So the guy who Cage calls again has these bitter connections. Then his police job is on the line because the two old ladies told the cop what he did. And when I said before about some quirky moments Werner Herzog puts in, I go back and forth on how I feel about it. It does make it a bit more interesting. And before I go on with that, like, it's interesting that they have Katrina as the background, sort of this Sally was a level of decay during that time because the city was underwater for so much and needed rebuilding, and the certain decadence and decay kind of filters along with the character's, Nicolas Cage's soul throughout these proceedings. But at the same time, if it's trying to be any amount of story of redemption, it doesn't really, you don't really feel that. I think if you're able to feel that and really delve into that in certain moments, whether it's him remembering certain moments of happiness throughout his life, or moments that he wants to get better and he's mad at himself for where he is in his life, and I think with Nicolas Cage he could be a very good actor if you guide him the right way, and that could be that doesn't really be showcased in this though. But yeah, Werner Herzog, he'll have moments. For example, when he meets the trooper Fruzer Bulk, the meeting is on the road where I guess a gator has been run over. And then there's a bit where there's like a point of view of a gator. Like the camera's here and you see the gator like right here. I imagine the gator's like right to your right and we're seeing like his point of view for a bit. Just out of randomness. Or there's a bit where a guy gets shot and then Cage like, shoot him again. Why? His soul is still dancing. And Cage is so out of it, he sees his soul like break dancing while the actual dead body's right next to it. Because Cage is out of it. I will say though that I don't think it's badly directed. There's some interesting shots. There's a one shot, like one take, where we follow Nick Cage through one house, through the back of another house, turning around, going through the back of this house to get a gun on this guy before he shoots other people. Like I said, I think the supporting cast fairly well acted. It's always great to have people like Brad Dourif in there. Brad Dourif in the same frame as Nicolas Cage. Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer is good. I just wish he was in the film a lot more. Also, and things kind of work out a bit too neat. And I don't know if that was meant as a parody or as meant as a ploy of other cop movies or something, but just spoiler alert. Cage says he's going to work with Exhibit. I do like the moment where Exhibit's, oh, relax, and Cage pulls a gun out and goes, you tell me again to relax. Like I said, Cage, there's a lot of good moments from Cage in this. And it's fun enough to watch just for his performance alone. It's worth a look for his performance alone. And that's the thing, I like Nicolas Cage's output in the direct-to-video market. Because I would not call this a bad movie. I think it's a flawed movie, but I think it's interesting enough. It's got some interesting quirks to it and performances that makes it at least worth the watch. And then I looked at films like Mandy, Willy's Wonderland, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I even liked Renfield, the Cage and Nicholas Hoult parts. Awkwafina, no. But because of the Holt and Cage parts and the gore, overall I did like Renfield. So you look at other actors as they get older, and their output is a lot less satisfying and more bland. You know how much I love Schwarzenegger and Stallone and Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren, but Cage has been putting more interesting movies out. They may not always work, but they're definitely more interesting. I kind of wish some of these action guys would follow Cage's trajectory. Like, can you imagine Van Damme being in Willy's Wonderland or Stallone being in Mandy? Which, I mean, because they're in the son of this director, did Mandy, Panos Cosmatos, and then that was George Cosmatos. Although, yes, people say Stallone technically directed it, but I mean, it's George's name. Anyway. But yeah, Nicolas Cage, at least he makes interesting choices. This was another one. But yeah, by the end, things kind of just luck out for Cage's character a bit too neat. Because he's working with Exhibit, but then the bad guys hired, I think, from the guy that was messing with Evan Mendez's character, and then Nicolas Cage got pissed at him, and the guy said, I'll get some revenge on you. Those guys try to mess with Exhibit, and Exhibit's guys kill them. So then that's taken care of. Then Nick Cage got to, luckily, see a football player and stop him and say, listen, I'll fuck up your life if you don't help throw this game so you can win this bet. But even then, it didn't matter because the game still won, and he still made the money to pay back his bookie and then some. He tricked Exhibit to smoke his lucky crack pipe and put in a scene of a crime of those illegal immigrant killings, so he's able to stop him. I guess the old ladies, because they're so old, they disregarded their testimony, so now everything's perfectly fine. And then it's sometime later, I think he gets promoted again or something, and then Evan Mendes has cleaned up. And then the very, very end, the guy he saved at the very beginning of the film wants to help him try to get sober. So there's definitely more light in the tunnel in this compared to the first Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel. Definitely a lot more. But I don't know if it's 100% earned. I mean, I kind of like the idea that the one moment of good he did at the beginning was able to fall back onto him. Kind of the thing that led him into drugs is what maybe turned out to be the guy that get him out of drugs. But I never really felt his need, his desire, his want for redemption or to be a better person. Maybe that's not the point of the movie. But if that's the case, then his redemption, him getting off drugs, doesn't really feel like it's earned or that he deserves it, or I don't know how you want to put it. I mean, he's being nice to his girlfriend, Eva Mendes. And this is the thing, that there are moments that he's not an awful person. Like, he tries to help his parents, he tries to help Eva Mendes. But on the flip side, he's still... Well, I say at cost, he's not hurting them physically. He's just stopping them. Hey, I found you with drugs. Come on, empty your pockets, and then takes their drugs. But still, it's done... Still a very, very flawed character. I don't know, things just seem to work out a bit too deep for him in the end. And it doesn't seem like he 100% deserves that. And like I said, there's really no desire for him to want to get better, or... I don't know, it feels like this is a movie that should have a lot more moments of self-reflection, or am I doing the right thing, or... like I said, Bringing Out the Dead, I thought did that kind of bit better. Again, in terms of a guy who seems to be going this spiral downhill and what he can do to change his life type of thing. So overall, I did not mind the film. I don't think it was an awful, terrible film, not in the slightest. It just, there are flaws here and there that I think if it was worked out, could have been a bit better of a movie. Like I say, if you like Nicolas Cage, it's definitely at least worth one watch, but it's not something I would own on DVD or Blu-ray, whatever. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.